First contact. In the depths of the universe, the Zolothians had long reigned supreme, an ancient race gifted with advanced telepathic abilities. They had studied and influenced countless civilizations across the galaxy. Their minds were highly structured, their thoughts orderly and efficient, their psychic powers honed over millennia. It was during a routine surveillance of a distant spiral arm that they first encountered the humans. The Zylothian overseer, Krylox, was intrigued by the readings. A young species, technologically nascent, yet already showing signs of rapid advancement. But what truly caught his attention was the curious nature of their minds. Most peculiar, Krylox mused as he studied the psychic scans. Human thoughts appeared disorderly, chaotic even. They lacked the neat structure and organization that the Zolothians prized. And yet there was an undeniable resilience to them, a strange resistance to external probing. Krylox summoned his lead researcher, Xyloth, to his chambers. Xyloth was a prodigy among the Zolothians, his telepathic skills unmatched by most of his peers. "I have a special assignment for you, Xyloth," Krylox began. "I need you to study these humans up close. Their minds are unlike anything we've encountered. I want to know what makes them tick." Xyloth accepted the mission with a mix of curiosity and trepidation. He had studied many species, but something about these humans felt different. It was as if their very nature defied the orderly principles of the universe. As he prepared for his journey to Earth, Xyloth couldn't shake the feeling that this mission would change everything. Little did he know just how right he was. The human subject, William Martinez, was an ordinary human by most measures. A 35-year-old IT consultant living in a bustling city, his life revolved around work, gym visits, and the occasional night out with friends. He had no way of knowing that he had been chosen as the subject of an alien study. Xyloth's arrival on Earth had been discreet. His advanced cloaking technology allowed him to move among humans undetected, observing and analyzing their behavior. But it was their minds he was truly interested in. He had selected Liam based on initial scans that suggested a particularly strong mental signature. If he could unravel the secrets of this one human's mind, perhaps he could understand them all. Xyloth began his observations from a distance, using his telepathic abilities to skim the surface of Liam's thoughts. But every attempt to delve deeper was met with a strange resistance, a mental static that seemed to repel his probes. At first, Xyloth attributed this to his own lack of familiarity with human minds. He redoubled his efforts, focusing his considerable psychic energies on penetrating Liam's mental defenses. But as the days turned into weeks, Xyloth grew increasingly frustrated. No matter how hard he tried, he could not seem to get a clear reading on Liam's thoughts. It was as if the human's mind was shrouded in an impenetrable fog. And yet, even as his frustration mounted, so too did Xyloth's fascination. He had never encountered a challenge like this before. The chaotic swirl of Liam's thoughts, the unpredictable surges of emotion, the sheer rawness of his mental landscape, it was unlike anything Xyloth had ever experienced. He became obsessed with unraveling the mystery of Liam's mind. He shadowed the human's every move, probing and prodding at the edges of his consciousness, searching for a way in. Little did Xyloth realize that his obsession would soon lead him down a path from which there was no return. He was about to learn firsthand the true power and resilience of the human spirit. Deeper probing. Xyloth's initial frustrations soon gave way to a grim determination. He refused to be bested by a mere human, no matter how unusually resistant their mind might be. He decided it was time to take his probing to the next level. Using a combination of advanced Zylothian technology and his own formidable psychic powers, Xyloth began to intensify his telepathic assault on Liam's mind. He probed deeper than he ever had before, pushing past the mental static, determined to lay bare the secrets of the human psyche. At first, all he encountered was chaos. Liam's thoughts were a swirling maelstrom of ideas, memories, and emotions, lacking any semblance of order or structure. It was disorienting, even for a telepath as skilled as Xyloth. But as he delved deeper, he began to discern patterns within the chaos. Fragmented images of Liam's childhood, snippets of conversations, the pulsing undercurrent of his fears and desires. It was raw, unfiltered, and utterly fascinating. However, Xyloth's intrusion did not go unnoticed. On a subconscious level, Liam began to sense the alien presence within his mind. He couldn't explain it, but he felt a growing unease, a creeping sense of violation. As Xyloth probed further, Liam's discomfort turned to outright mental anguish. He began to experience searing headaches, vivid nightmares, and a pervasive feeling of being watched. His work suffered, his relationships strained under the weight of his growing paranoia. And then, one night, as Xyloth made his deepest incursion yet, Liam's mind finally lashed out. It was a purely instinctive response, a primal scream of defiance against the invader. Xyloth reeled back, stunned by the force of the human's mental backlash. For a brief moment, he saw himself through Liam's eyes, an alien intruder, a violator of the most sacred of spaces. As he withdrew from Liam's mind, Xyloth was shaken to his core. He had severely underestimated the human, and now he was about to face the consequences of his hubris. The turning point. In the aftermath of Liam's psychic retaliation, Xyloth found himself in a state of mental turmoil. The human's raw, undisciplined mental blast had caught him utterly off guard, and its effects lingered like a bitter aftertaste in his mind. But more than that, it had forced him to confront an uncomfortable truth. He had badly misjudged these humans. What he had taken for primitive chaos was in fact a complex tapestry of thought and emotion, woven together in ways his ordered Xylothian mind struggled to comprehend. As he grappled with this revelation, Xyloth made a fateful decision. Rather than withdraw and report his findings, he would press on. He had to understand the true nature of these humans, even if it meant risking his own mental well-being. He renewed his telepathic probing of Liam's mind, but this time, he took a different approach. Rather than trying to impose order on the chaos, he allowed himself to be swept up in it, to experience the full intensity of human thought and feeling. It was a staggering experience. Xyloth felt as though he was being buffeted by a psychic typhoon, his own thoughts and memories mixing and merging with Liam's in a dizzying kaleidoscope of sensation. He saw the world through Liam's eyes, the joys and sorrows, the hopes and fears, the triumphs and failures that made up a human life. He felt the fierce bonds of love and friendship, the searing pain of loss and betrayal, the exhilaration of achievement against all odds. And through it all, he sensed an underlying strength, a resilience born of the very chaos that had so confounded him. In their disorderly, unpredictable way, humans possessed a kind of mental fortitude that defied his understanding. It was a humbling realization for Xyloth. In his arrogance, he had sought to master the human mind, to dissect and analyze it like any other subject. But now he saw that the human psyche was not something to be conquered, but rather something to be marveled at in all its messy, glorious complexity. As he withdrew from Liam's mind once more, Xyloth knew that nothing would ever be the same. He had glimpsed the true potential of humanity, and it had shaken him to his very core. Little did he know that his greatest challenge was yet to come. For Liam, now fully aware of the alien presence in his mind, was about to mount a counterattack that would shake the very foundations of Xyloth's understanding. Mental siege. Liam's world had been turned upside down. The searing headaches, the vivid nightmares, the constant feeling of being watched. It had all led to a staggering realization. There was something in his head, an alien presence that had been probing his innermost thoughts and memories. At first, he had been terrified, his mind reeling at the sheer violation of it all. But then, something shifted. The fear gave way to anger, a righteous fury at this unwanted intrusion. He didn't understand how, but he knew he had struck back at the alien, had felt the intruder's own shock and confusion. And in that moment, Liam realized that he was not helpless, that his mind was his own, and he would fight to keep it that way. He began to focus his thoughts, to channel his anger and determination into a mental barrier. He pictured his mind as a fortress, its walls high and strong, impervious to the aliens' probing. And it seemed to be working. Liam could feel the alien's frustration as it tried to breach his defenses, could sense its growing unease at his resistance. But Liam didn't stop there. He went on the offensive, lashing out with his own psychic attacks. They were crude, untrained, but fueled by a raw human emotion that seemed to catch the alien off guard. Images, memories, sensations, Liam hurled them all at the intruder, a barrage of mental chaos designed to overwhelm and confuse. He dredged up every painful experience, every surge of anger or grief or joy, and weaponized them in his own defense. As the mental battle raged, something extraordinary began to happen. Other humans, those with a particularly strong psychic resonance, started to sense the disturbance. They too had felt the touch of the alien mind, had recoiled at its intrusion. And now, drawn by Liam's psychic beacon, they joined the fray. Across the city, across the country, across the world, human minds began to link and merge, forming a vast network of mental resistance. It was a sight that would have stunned any Xylothian observer. Individually, human minds were chaotic, disorderly. But together, united in common cause, they formed a psychic gestalt of immense power and complexity. Xyloth, still linked to Liam's mind, found himself at the epicenter of this psychic maelstrom, battered by the collective fury of the human hive mind. He felt his own mental defenses beginning to crumble. It was a terrifying experience for the Xylothian researcher. He had come to study these humans, to unravel the secrets of their minds. But now, faced with the raw power of their united psyche, he began to wonder if he had ever truly understood them at all. As the mental siege intensified, Xyloth knew he faced a choice. He could fight on, could try to reassert his psychic dominance, or he could yield, could accept that he had underestimated these remarkable creatures. But even as he grappled with this decision, he couldn't help but marvel at what he was witnessing. In their chaotic, unpredictable way, humans had achieved something extraordinary, a unity of purpose that transcended their individual differences. It was a humbling realization, and one that would change the course of Xyloth's mission in ways he could never have imagined. The power of chaos. As the psychic battle raged on, Xyloth found himself increasingly overwhelmed by the sheer power and intensity of the human hive mind. His own ordered thoughts began to unravel, his mental landscape fractured by the chaotic onslaught of human emotion and memory. It was a terrifying experience for the Xylothian researcher, one that challenged everything he thought he knew about the nature of consciousness. His people had always prized order, structure, the neat categorization of thought and feeling. But here, in the midst of this psychic storm, Xyloth was confronted with a different kind of truth. In their disunity, their very lack of a single guiding structure, humans had found a strange kind of strength. Each individual mind was a universe unto itself, a unique tapestry of experiences, beliefs, and emotions. And yet, when united in common cause, these disparate psyches could merge into something greater, something that transcended their individual limitations. It was chaos, yes, but it was a chaos that worked. The very randomness, the unpredictability of human thought, became a kind of psychic white noise, a static that frustrated all attempts at external control or manipulation. Xyloth had sought to penetrate this noise, to find the hidden patterns that would allow him to understand and influence the human mind. But now, battered by the collective psychic onslaught, he realized the futility of this approach. There was no single key, no master code that would unlock the secrets of human consciousness. Instead, there was only the endless, ever-shifting complexity of the human experience itself. As this realization dawned, Xyloth felt a strange sense of awe and humility. He had come to study these humans, to categorize and quantify them like any other species. But in doing so, he had failed to grasp the very thing that made them unique. It was their individuality, their very resistance to conformity, that gave them their strength. In a universe that prized order above all else, humans stood as a testament to the power of chaos, of the untamed and unpredictable. And in that moment, Xyloth knew that his mission had changed. No longer was he a dispassionate observer, seeking to dissect the human mind. Instead, he had become a student, humbled by the very thing he had sought to master. As the psychic battle reached its crescendo, Xyloth made a decision. He would not fight this chaos, would not seek to impose his own order upon it. Instead, he would embrace it, would learn from it. He lowered his mental defenses, allowing the full force of the human hive mind to wash over him. It was a staggering experience, a kaleidoscope of sensation and emotion that threatened to overwhelm him entirely. But as he surrendered to it, Xyloth began to see the patterns within the chaos, the strange beauty in the disorder. It was a perspective he had never considered, a way of being that challenged his very understanding of the universe. And as he emerged from the psychic maelstrom, Xyloth knew that he would never be the same. He had glimpsed the true power of the human mind, and it had forever changed him. Aftermath. As the psychic link severed, Xyloth found himself adrift in a sea of his own thoughts, his mind reeling from the intensity of the human connection. It was as if he had been living in a world of muted colors, only to suddenly see the full spectrum in all its vibrant glory. He retreated to his ship, his physical form as shaken as his mental state. The journey back to Xylothia passed in a blur, his thoughts consumed by the implications of what he had experienced. When he finally stood before the Xylothian High Council, Xyloth knew that his report would change everything. He spoke of the humans, of their chaotic yet powerful minds, of the way they had resisted, and ultimately overwhelmed his psychic probing. The counselors were stunned, their orderly minds struggling to comprehend the implications of Xyloth's words. A species that could resist Xylothian telepathy. It was unheard of, a challenge to their very understanding of the universe. But Xyloth pressed on, his voice growing more impassioned as he spoke of the potential he had seen in the human race. Yes, their minds were chaotic, unpredictable, but therein lay their strength, their resilience. In a galaxy that prized conformity and control, humans stood as a beacon of individuality, of the power of the untamed mind. They were a reminder that there was more to consciousness than structure and order, that true sentience was a spectrum, not a single point. The implications were staggering. If humans could resist Xylothian influence, what did that mean for the future of galactic relations? How would the other species react to this new player on the cosmic stage? As the council debated and deliberated, Xyloth found his own mind wandering back to Earth, to the brief but profound connection he had forged with Liam and the other humans. He had gone to study them. But in the end, it was they who had taught him the greatest lesson of all. In the days and weeks that followed, the Xylothian High Council came to a decision. Humans would be recognized as a sentient species, their unique mental abilities acknowledged and respected. Emissaries were dispatched to Earth, not to conquer or control, but to learn and understand. It was a new era of galactic relations, one in which diversity of thought was celebrated rather than suppressed. For Xyloth, it was the beginning of a new chapter in his own life. He had set out to unravel the secrets of the human mind, but in the end, it was his own psyche that had been transformed. He had learned to embrace the chaos, to find beauty in the unpredictable. As he watched the first Xylothian diplomats make contact with human leaders, Xyloth couldn't help but feel a sense of pride and hope. The road ahead would not be easy. There was much to learn on both sides, many bridges to be built. But he knew that it was a journey worth taking. In the chaos of human thought, in the very individuality that had once confounded him, Xyloth had found something precious, a reminder of the infinite diversity of the universe itself. And as he looked to the stars, he knew that the galaxy would never be the same. Humans had arrived on the cosmic stage, and their unique gifts would forever change the course of history. It was a new dawn, a new era of understanding and cooperation. And at the heart of it all was the power of the human mind, chaotic, unpredictable, and utterly indomitable. As Xyloth reflected on his journey, he knew that he had been privileged to witness something extraordinary. He had seen the birth of a new kind of galactic community, one in which the very things that made each species unique were celebrated and cherished. And he knew that, in the end, it was the power of individuality that would light the way forward. In a universe that prized sameness, it was the outliers, the rebels, the chaos bringers who held the key to true progress. Xyloth looked back on his mission with a sense of awe and gratitude. He had set out to study the human mind, but in the end, it was humanity that had given him the greatest gift of all, a new way of seeing, a new understanding of the very nature of existence. And as he watched the sunrise over a new era of galactic unity, Xyloth knew that the adventure was only beginning. With humans by their side, the Xylothians, indeed, all the species of the cosmos, stood on the threshold of a future brighter than any they had ever imagined. It was a future born of chaos, of the untamed power of the individual mind. And it was a future in which anything was possible, in which the very stars themselves were within reach. Xyloth smiled, his heart full of hope and wonder. The galaxy would never be the same. And that, he knew, was the greatest gift of all. The end.